Well, look who's back, everybody. Wayne Rooney back in the Championship, managing Plymouth Argyle. Who would have thought it? I saw Rooney on the thing with Gary Neville, and he was saying, I want to get back in. And I thought, oh, good luck with that after events, which we'll talk about last season. But I'll start this off by saying fair play to Rooney. He is obviously very serious about working in football, in management, in the Championship. This is his third managerial post in the second tier in English football, and he's going in at Plymouth. There's some bits and bobs. Chairman Simon Hallett, throughout the interview process, Wayne showed himself to be a passionate, intelligent and knowledgeable candidate with an appetite to prove himself and develop his managerial career. So we were kind of thinking... so much so that he reached out to the board when we started this process. So I don't know whether this is entirely a two-way street or Wayne Rooney has literally gone to Plymouth and said, look, I fancy this. Give us a go. So I'm sure we're going to have many views on Rooney in the comments, but I don't think you can kind of question his willingness to try and do this. And we'll talk about what's going to be expected at Plymouth and the respective level compared to where he played 99% of his playing career. So fair dues there. This is from the CEO. As conversations advanced, it was clear there was a natural alignment in our footballing ideals. When you have positive conversations like that, it's a perfect match. Wayne is the ideal person to help the club on its next 5-year journey. Obviously, if you're not familiar with Plymouth, they sort of work in these 5-year plans, and they've had a rather successful last 5 years or so, coming up from League Two, a couple of seasons in League One, brilliant promotion last season, survival in the Championship. But as I always say, a sharp rise, which is what Plymouth has had, normally ends up with your best assets being pilfered, and unfortunately, a sharp fall. But they survived just in the Championship, and they will be there next season. So no sign of a sharp fall. And Rooney, well, I suppose he's at base level in the Championship. I think they were 21st, weren't they, Plymouth? The lowest surviving team from last season. And maybe, in the words of Yaz and the plastic population, the only way is up. Let's just get this out of the way, because it seems like whenever we talk about Rooney, I'm the only one that ends up defending the poor bloke. Look, I'm not a Rooney apologist. All I want is a rational, reasonable conversation. And I hate to say it, there is such thing with such big names as Rooney derangement syndrome. It was like this when he was a player, just maddening opinions, real extremes of sort of opinion. Let's take the evidence and try and talk. I know after what happened at Birmingham, even more people than were, I thought, unfairly down on him, even more people are going to be down on poor old Wazza when we go into this one. So I'll talk about his 2 Championship jobs. I know he did bits and bobs in MLS as well. Darby, I'm sorry, I am going to defend Rooney at Darby. Yes, they did get relegated, but Wayne Rooney went into Darby as Mel Morris was basically saying, I'm done, I'm finished, I want to get out. And by the way, I'm never apologising to the EFL. So they're going to sanction me and deduct me absolutely tons and tons of points. And this is going to be a bit of a dumpster fire. Nearly went down in his first season, survived on the last day. And in the face, I think they got deducted 21 points. And they would honestly have finished halfway up the table without the points deductions. And they had a pretty good go at surviving, didn't survive. I don't think it's as straightforward as saying, oh, Rooney took Darby down, that's terrible. I think plenty of mitigating circumstances where we can say he gave that a reasonable go. Again, like I say, off he went to MLS to play a bit, actually. And no, he'd already played there, sorry. He finished his playing career at Derby, didn't he? And then he went back to MLS to manage, where he played, after he'd been at Everton for the second time. He came back to Derby, sorry. It's been a long career. It's been a long day. I've been at a kid's birthday party as well today. So I'm black and blue from being trampled on by small children. But you've got to love it, haven't you? And yes, I felt the need to stand up for Rooney going into Birmingham last season with lots of people saying, oh, this is a terrible hire. I don't think it was a terrible hire. I think it was a terrible decision to take out John Eustace. And look, it was horrific, wasn't it? At Birmingham, they had a takeover. They had a transfer window where loads of new players came in. John Eustace shaped a pragmatic team, sort of into the top 6, didn't he? I think he did win his last 2 games before Rooney came in, which kind of padded the points total a little bit, but it is what it is. And yeah, Gary Cook, no fear football, and yeah, just horrible. Rooney was dreadful at Birmingham. I don't think anyone can, I sound like an apologist, yes, but I can't defend that performance. But what I can say is it was carnage at Birmingham last season, wasn't it? There were lots of moving parts. They ended up after Rooney went with Moran, then he got ill, and then Gary Rowett went. It's had 4 managers last season. So I don't think we can sit here and say Wayne Rooney is solely responsible for Birmingham's terrible season and relegation. I'm using the word relegation quite a lot while we're talking about Rooney's career, which doesn't sound good in terms of Championship management. But I don't think it's all his fault that they went down. But I do think his portion of the season was hopeless, wasn't it? He tried to get it going quickly. He called out the players. He made lots of sweeping changes. He just misjudged it completely. The results were terrible, and he got sacked fairly quickly. And I think he'd thrown all his Hail Marys too soon. I'm an Ipswich fan. I remember when Paul Hurst went in and literally in the second game called out the dressing room, and you're like, oh, okay, this is either, going to go right from now in the right direction, or he is done. And Rooney sort of did something similar, and it turned out it's normally the latter, and he was done. So look, Rooney, terrible at Birmingham. But again, I do think, and look, I think there's something there. I know a lot of people will credit the good stuff that did happen at Darby in terms of fighting against the 21 points of deductions. They'll credit it to Liam Rossignol, who's probably linked with this Plymouth job as well. But there's obviously a massive determination and willingness. Yes, that's all well and good, but if you don't have the nous to back it up, then it's not going to work. But, maybe it's going to go one of 2 ways, isn't it? Either Rooney is now finding his level and he's going to work up from here and become a competent Championship manager. And I think the Plymouth fans would agree with me. They just want to stabilise in the Championship, make themselves a regular sort of second-tier team, and then, try and move up into the middle. And then, you know what it's like in the Championship. If you're in the middle, you're a good 18 games, last 18 games away from getting into the playoffs, aren't you? So that's the deal with most teams in the Championship who don't have parachute payments or, wealthy owners who've sold, players and are able to spend. So, look, is it his level now? Possibly. How do I think it's going to go? Well, I think it'll go better than Birmingham, which was abject awful. The bar is not high at Plymouth. It was massively high with Stephen Schumacher, but he obviously left to go and do the Stoke job, didn't he? And Iain Foster, that was horrific. And the director of football, Neil Dewsnip, who's employed Wayne Rooney now, just took them until the end of the season and got them over the line. So, I think he's got a clean slate. I think I do like Plymouth as a club, I've got to say, from the rivalry with Ipswich in League One, maybe 2 seasons ago. Now, I like the kind of geographical diversity, even the colour of the shirt, that the only one's dressed like that. Miles away from anywhere, nearest away game is 2 hours away. There's something unique, let's just say, about Plymouth Argyle. And if he can play into that and the fans give him backing, I think something can happen. Look, let's be honest, with the Rooney derangement syndrome and what happened at Birmingham as well, everyone's going to assume this is going to be a disaster, isn't it? So it's almost like low bar in terms of Plymouth were 21st, the only way is up, and low bar in terms of expectations after Birmingham. So it could go all right, I think. And the fans have got to get behind him. That's the only hope there, because like the rest of the footballing world will. Unfortunately, it's a cruel place to be waiting for him to fall flat on his face. And I do not want to be sat here in October talking about him being sacked. There you go. Get your takes in on Wayne Rooney. I think it might work out okay at Plymouth. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And I'm just watching Eric Ten Hag lifting up the FA Cup for Man United. Do check out up here the latest talk on the managerial madness, the managerial merry-go-round. I suspect we'll be doing more on this, maybe with this guy I'm looking at on the screen over here right now. But for the meantime, get your thoughts in on Wayne Rooney to Plymouth. How do you think it'll go? Can he prove literally everybody wrong and get a tune out of Argyle?